many philosophers love to define the human beings in a very static way. A person who is able to use language, or a person who is simply a rational being. So all these multidimensional ideas of the human, they have to be integrated. And so self-cultivation is always a complex process. It's never simple. And yet he has this very strong idea, concentration, ability to purify your mind. So you make the mind like a mirror that will be able to reflect the external world in a very disinterested, in a pure way. Many people say this is a distinctive feature of Buddhism. And Buddhism was introduced to China roughly the 1st century AD. And the Xunzi, of course, a few centuries before. So that's authentically Confucian. So his understanding of the way. He's even more important. I'm not going to emphasize that because it's beyond our scope of understanding. His development of scholarship. And he actually involved in systematic inquiries on all the classics. So Xunzi, you can say, is very arrogant. He's deeply concerned about, his central concern is how he can inspire the students to learn for themselves. At the same time, as a scholar, learning for the sake of the self is not simply a personal thing, certainly not individualistic, not a personal thing. It involves your familiarity with the great texts. And these texts actually were transmitted to his time through continuous commentaries, interpretations. So you're part, each one of us is part of a genealogy of scholarship. The other thing I'm not going to put much emphasis either, that is practice. He's an official, in other words, he's a magistrate. And all these major Confucians were very much practical. Just imagine our congressmen, women, and senators, even the mayor of Cambridge, are all great thinkers, very inspirational for us to learn how to be human. They're not just politicians. It's very difficult to imagine that, of course. Xunzi is very much in that spirit. So the way scholarship and praxis are integrated in Xunzi. In order to do that, he's, of course, very much involved in dialogue, especially dialogue between teacher and student, but dialogue among friends, and even dialogues between ministers and rulers, and dialogue in the family. But Xunzi is also very argumentative. And that's true with Mencius. Mencius say, I don't like arguing. How can I not involve in arguing, because all these inauthentic ideas are floating around. I cannot choose but to become argumentative. Recently, Amata Singh published a book called The Argumentative Indian. And if I would have a chance to do something comparable, I would probably use the term dialogical Chinese. But on the other hand, people like to talk. We call kantian, to talk about heaven, which means no purpose at all. Just sit and sipping, go to Sichuan sipping tea and talk. Everybody became very happy after talking. There's no reason why you get together to talk. This is quite unique. In Japan, you get together, you talk, focus on a particular business topic or some goal-oriented idea. Otherwise, you just drink and you don't want to talk. You enjoy the company. But this idea of dialogue is critical. But Xunzi became a major debater. And he was also extremely critical. There's one very important chapter on his, not enunciation, but the critique of 12 major schools of his time. Probably cover all the major schools. And in order to present a Confucian point of view, he became argumentative. So there's a paradox. The Confucian school is very broad-minded, so it's ecumenical, I mean cosmopolitan, and try to learn from many, many schools to develop, learning from Taoism, learning from Moism, learning from legalism, and learning from the so-called yin-yang school with emphasis on yin and yang. But at the same time, Xunzi made it very clear you have to clarify what is your position. And this, of course, very strong in Islam, in Christianity, in Buddhism, and not necessarily in Hinduism. Hinduism is also very broad, so there are hundreds of gods in, or spiritual forces in Hindu tradition. I remember once a Christian missionary or theologian was involved in the study of a Hindu guru. The Hindu guru posed a question: is it possible for you to imagine a situation that you are involved in a conversation with your partner? You try to persuade your partner not to accept your faith, not to accept some of the great ideas that you're expounding. And this theologian thought for a long time, said, no, I cannot imagine that. If I talk to someone, of course, I hope that someone will accept my ideas, if not converted to my faith, at least sympathetic to my faith. So he said, can you imagine any traditions like that? This guru said, Hinduism. So if I discovered that your mindset, your training, your culture is such, if I ask you to forget about it and to accept my view, to accept my truth, I'm doing something wrong to you. So I encourage you not to accept some of the ideas. I think great. They can serve as reference, but you should continue with your faith. Now this not radical as the Hindu tradition in Confucianism, but there's understanding people with different kind of orientations should continue to focus upon their own work. And yet, it is very important to defend what is your position. If you don't defend your position, you become very diffuse, and you don't have a very strong persuasive power. So what are some of these things that Xunzi wanted to criticize in order to defend the Confucian way? Maybe the most pronounced is extreme form of individualism. There's one school, Yangzhou,